When did you realize your partner loved someone else all along?
I never thought love could feel like a shadow, like something hanging over you, silent but suffocating, waiting for the day you finally notice it's not yours. The day I realized my partner had loved someone else all along didn't start with a fight, or a dramatic confession, or even the usual signs you see in movies. It started with a laugh. A stupid, careless laugh that wasn't even meant for me. We were at a family dinner, one of those long Sunday evenings where the wine flowed too freely and my mother insisted on telling the same stories about my childhood. Jacob, my partner of 6 years, sat beside me, his hand resting lightly on my knee. On the surface, we were the perfect couple. Everyone said so. He worked in finance, I was building a career in marketing, and together we checked every box people use to measure happiness. But when my cousin Anna walked into the dining room, Jacob's hand tensed just slightly, just enough for me to feel it. And then came that laugh. I'd never heard it before, not from him. It wasn't his polite laugh, the one he used for clients. It wasn't his sarcastic chuckle when he and I exchanged inside jokes. No, this was different. Loose, careless, free. He looked at her like he was seeing sunlight for the first time in years. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being insecure, but the way he leaned forward, the way his eyes followed her every move, the way his voice softened when he asked about her new job, it was undeniable. I sat there, smiling, nodding at my mother's endless story about how I used to sleep with a blanket over my head, while inside, my chest was collapsing. After dinner, when we got home, I asked him casually, "You seemed happy to see Anna." "Of course," he said, quickly, too quickly. "She's family. And I like your family." But he didn't look at me when he said it. That night, lying in bed beside him, I stared at the ceiling while he scrolled through his phone. The glow of the screen lit his face in sharp angles. His mouth curved into the faintest smile, and I asked without thinking, "Who are you texting?" He locked the screen instantly, rolling over. "Just a coworker." My stomach dropped. I wanted to push, to demand the truth, but instead I whispered, "Okay," because I was afraid of the answer. The days that followed were small deaths. A glance too long at his phone. A silence too sharp when Anna's name came up in family group chats. I started to see patterns, cracks in the walls I'd never noticed before. He always found reasons to come to family events now, even the ones he used to dread. My brother's boring board game nights, my aunt's endless baby showers. He was suddenly enthusiastic, attentive, the first one to RSVP. And every time, Anna was there. I caught them once in the kitchen, just the two of them, their voices low. When they noticed me, they jumped apart like guilty children. "What are you two whispering about?" I asked, forcing a smile. "Nothing," Anna said, too brightly. "Just catching up." Jacob avoided my eyes the rest of the night. The truth didn't come all at once. It came in fragments, little betrayals hidden in the folds of ordinary life. I found a receipt in his jacket pocket, 2 glasses of wine at a restaurant we'd never been to. I smelled perfume on his scarf, a scent I recognized because Anna had hugged me with it countless times. But the breaking point came one Friday evening. He came home late, shirt untucked, eyes glassy. He dropped his bag on the floor and collapsed onto the couch. "You've been with her," I said, my voice shaking. He didn't answer for rest, just rubbed his hands over his face like he was trying to scrub away the truth. When he finally looked at me, his eyes were tired, resigned. "I loved her before I loved you," he said quietly. The words landed like a blade. I couldn't breathe. "What?" "Back in college," he continued, his voice flat. "Anna and we had something. It ended. But when I met you, I thought I was moving on. I thought I was building something real. And I do love you, I do. But when I see her, it all comes back." I wanted to scream, to throw something, to shatter the perfect little life we'd built, but all I could do was sit there, frozen, while the man I thought was my forever admitted he'd been carrying someone else in his heart the entire time. "Do you still love her?" I whispered. He closed his eyes, and that silence was louder than any confession. I went upstairs that night and locked the bedroom door. He slept on the couch. I lay awake, my chest aching, my mind racing with every moment we'd shared. The trips, the plans, the promises. All of it felt poisoned now, tainted by a truth I hadn't seen. But the worst part wasn't that he loved her. The worst part was that somewhere deep down, I'd always known.
And once you see the shadow, you can't unsee it. The next morning, Anna called me, and that was when everything truly began to unravel. Her name lighting up on my phone that morning felt like a knife twisting deeper. I stared at the screen for a long moment, my hand trembling so badly I nearly dropped it. Why was she calling me? She never called. We weren't the kind of cousins who shared secrets or borrowed clothes. A relationship was polite, distant, existing only at birthdays and holidays. "Hello?" My voice came out hoarse, raw from the night I'd spent awake. "Hey," Anna said, too softly, like she knew I was fragile. "Can we meet? Just the two of us?" My chest tightened. "Why?" A pause, then, "Because you deserve the truth." I should have hung up, should have told her to stay away from me, from him, from everything. But instead, I found myself agreeing. We met at a small cafe 2 neighborhoods over, the kind of place where no one would recognize us. I walked in and saw her sitting by the window, her hair pulled back, a scarf wrapped around her neck despite the warmth. She looked nervous. I wanted to hate her, but the pit in my stomach told me I wouldn't. She stood when she saw me, gave me a tentative hug I didn't return. "Thank you for coming." "Just say whatever you have to say," I told her, sitting down. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. For a long moment, she just stared at the steam. Then she whispered, "It never really ended between us." The air left my lungs. "What?" "In college, we thought it was love. It was messy, intense. He broke it off when he met you, said he wanted to try something stable, but he never let me go." I shook my head, my ears buzzing. "No, no, he told me." "I know what he told you." "And I tried to stay away, I swear I did. But he kept finding me. Family dinners, little excuses to see me. He'd text me late at night, things he couldn't say to you. I told him it wasn't fair to you, but he broke his breath. He said you'd never understand him the way I did." I gripped the edge of the table so hard, my knuckles turned white. "So what, Anna? You've been sneaking around behind my back this whole time?" Her face crumpled. "It wasn't like that. We didn't sleep together. Not until recently." The word recently sliced through me. I thought I might vomit. I stood up so fast the chair screeched against the floor. "Don't call me again." People were staring. I didn't care. I stormed out of the cafe, my vision blurred by tears I refused to let fall. When I got home, Jacob was waiting. He jumped up when he saw me, his face pale. "You met her." I laughed bitterly. "So you knew." "She called me this morning, said she was going to tell you. And you didn't think to stop her? He stepped closer, desperation etched into his features. I thought it might be better if you heard it from her. I didn't want to hurt you any more than I already have. The sound that escaped me was somewhere between a laugh and a sob. You didn't want to hurt me? Jacob, you've been lying to me for years. Every kiss, every promise, it was all a lie. No, he said quickly, reaching for me. I pulled back. I love you, I do, but I can't deny that a part of me will always love her. I thought I could bury it. I thought it would fade, but when I saw her again, it all came back. Then why didn't you leave me? I whispered. His eyes filled with tears. Because I didn't want to lose you either. That was the cruelest part of all. He wanted both, me and her. Stability and passion. Safety and danger. And I'd let him. The next days blurred into one another. I went to work, answered emails, smiled in meetings, but I felt like a ghost walking through my own life. At night, I locked myself in the guest room. I couldn't bear to share a bed with him anymore. He tried. He cooked my favorite meals, left flowers on the counter, whispered apologies through the locked door, but his words felt hollow, empty.
Then came the family barbecue. I told myself I wouldn't go, that I couldn't face them both in the same space. But my mother begged me, said it wouldn't look right if I skipped, so I went. And there they were, Jacob and Anna, standing too close by the grill, laughing at something my uncle said. Their shoulders brushed. Their eyes met for a second too long. Something inside me snapped. I walked straight past them, grabbed a beer, and pretended not to notice, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Later, as the sun set and everyone gathered around the fire pit, I caught Jacob sneaking away toward the side gate. Anna followed minutes later. I didn't even think. I got up and trailed behind them, keeping my steps light. What I found on the other side of that gate shattered whatever illusions I had left. The night air was heavy with the smell of smoke and grilled meat, but beyond the side gate, everything was hushed. The laughter and music from the fire pit faded into a distant hum. I crept closer, heart pounding, every nerve screaming at me to turn back. And then I saw them. They stood in the narrow strip of yard between the fence and the shed, where the light didn't reach. Jacob's hands cupped on his face like it was something precious. She leaned into him as if she'd belonged there all along. Their foreheads touched. His lips brushed hers. Not a hungry kiss, but something worse. Tender. Familiar. I froze, the blood rushing in my ears. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. My entire body locked in place, as if by watching I might undo what was happening. Anna whispered something I couldn't hear, and Jacob laughed softly, that same laugh I'd first noticed at dinner, that laugh that had been mine once. Something inside me cracked. I stumbled backward, my heel crunching against a stray rock. They both turned instantly, their faces lit with guilt. Anna's eyes went wide, her mouth opening in silent horror. Jacob looked like he'd just been caught stealing from a church. "Don't," I choked out, my voice breaking. "Don't you dare say anything." Neither of them moved. I spun around and stormed back through the gate, my vision blurred. My mother called after me, confused, but I didn't stop. I grabbed my bag and my keys, ignoring Jacob's footsteps pounding behind me. "Wait!" he shouted, catching my arm before I could get in the car. "Don't touch me!" I screamed, wrenching free. Everyone was staring now. My father, my uncles, even the children. Silence spread across the backyard like spilled oil. "Please," Jacob begged, his voice cracking. "It wasn't what you looked like." "Then what the hell was it, Jacob?" My chest heaved as tears finally broke free. "Tell me what I just saw." Tell me why the man I was supposed to marry is kissing my cousin behind my family's shed." Gasps rippled through the gathering. Anna appeared at the gate, pale and shaking, but she didn't speak. She didn't need to. The truth hung heavy in the air, undeniable. "I love you," Jacob whispered, as if those words could erase everything. "Stop," I said, my voice trembling. "Don't you dare say that to me, ever again." And then I got in the car and drove. The headlights blurred with my tears, the road twisting and bending beneath me. I didn't know where I was going, just away. Away from him, away from her, away from the betrayal that had been festering in the shadows of my life for years. I ended up at a motel off the highway. The room smelled faintly of bleach and loneliness. I collapsed onto the bed, clutching my chest as sobs tore through me. Hours passed. My phone buzzed with call after call, message after message. From Jacob, from my mother, even from Anna. I turned it face down on the nightstand and let it ring until the battery died. But silence doesn't last forever. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. Sharp. Urgent. I froze. My first thought was Jacob. I pictured him outside, desperate, ready to beg his way back into my life. I considered not answering. But when I peered through the peephole, it wasn't him. It was Anna. She stood there with her hair uncombed, eyes swollen from crying. She held a coffee in one hand, as if peace offerings could undo the wreckage. Against every instinct, I opened the door just an inch. "What do you want?" Her voice broke. "To explain." I laughed bitterly. "Explain what, Anna? That you've been in love with him all along? That you waited until I built a life with him to finally claim what you thought was yours?"
Tears streamed down her face. "It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I didn't mean—" "Stop lying," I cut her off. "You knew. You both knew. And you let me believe I had something real." She flinched, her lips trembling. "I love him," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "I always have. But I love you too. You're my family. I never wanted to hurt you." The words made me sick. "You don't get to say you love me after this." She reached for me, but I slammed the door before her fingers could touch mine. Her muffled sobs lingered outside for a while before fading down the hall. I slid down against the door, my chest hollow. That night, Jacob sent me an email. Pages and pages of apologies, explanations, promises. He said it was me he wanted, me he chose, that what happened with Anna was just old wounds reopening. But buried in all his desperate pleas was one sentence that froze my blood. "I can't stop thinking about her." That was when I realized he wasn't sorry for loving her. He was sorry for getting caught. And for the first time in 6 years, I knew I couldn't forgive him. But walking away would mean more than losing him. It would mean losing everything we'd built. And maybe losing myself. I didn't go home for a week. The motel became my refuge, though refuge isn't the right word. It was more like a cage lined with thin blankets and buzzing fluorescent lights. I laid there night after night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my relationship with Jacob, wondering how much of it had been real and how much had been an echo of her. Had he looked at me the way he looked at Anna? Had he ever laughed that laugh for me? Or had I always been a stand-in, a safe substitute for the woman he really wanted? By the third night, the questions ate at me so badly that I finally opened his email again. I scrolled past the apologies, past the promises, down to the words that had gutted me. "I can't stop thinking about her." It played on loop in my head until I couldn't stand it anymore. I packed my things and drove home. The house was dark when I arrived. His car was in the driveway, but the lights were off. I stepped inside quietly, every sound amplified. The creak of the floorboards, the the hum of the fridge. And then I saw him. Jacob was asleep on the couch, curled up with a blanket, his face pale and hollow. He looked broken. For a moment, against my will, my heart clenched. This was the man I had loved for years, the man I had built a future with. But then I remembered the shed, the kiss, the confession, and pity turned to rage. I left my bag by the door and went upstairs. The bedroom smelled like him, his cologne, his shampoo. I stripped the bed, stuffed the sheets into a garbage bag, and hauled them out to the curb. Petty, maybe, but it felt like reclaiming something. When he woke the next morning, I was in the kitchen, making coffee. He froze in the doorway, his eyes red-rimmed. "You came back," he whispered. "Don't get comfortable," I said flatly. He swallowed hard, walked closer. "Please, just let me explain." I slammed the mug on the counter. "You've done enough explaining. I want the truth, the whole truth. No more half confessions, no more excuses. Did you ever really love me, Jacob? Or was I just convenient?" His face crumpled. "I loved you. I still love you. But not enough to stop loving her." Silence. That silence was my answer. I turned away, my throat burning. "You don't get to have both of us." "I don't want both," he said desperately. "I want you, but part of you will always belong to her," I finished bitterly. "I get it." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sound of the coffee maker gurgling filled the kitchen like a cruel joke. Finally, I said, "You need to leave." He shook his head, panic flashing in his eyes. "Please, don't do this. Don't throw everything away." "You already did," I whispered.
He tried again, reaching for me, but I stepped back. "If you don't leave, I'll call my father. And you know he won't ask twice." His jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to argue, to beg, to fight, but finally he nodded. "I'll pack my things." I didn't move as he walked upstairs. I listened to the sound of drawers opening, zippers closing, footsteps heavy with defeat. When he came back down, suitcase in hand, his eyes were wet. "I'm sorry," he whispered one last time. I didn't answer. I held the door open until he was gone. When it clicked shut, the silence nearly knocked me over. But silence didn't last. 3 days later, Anna showed up again. This time, she didn't look guilty. She looked determined. Her hair was neat, her clothes crisp, as if she'd dressed for a battle she intended to win. "You need to hear me out," she said firmly when I opened the door. I almost laughed. "Do you have any idea how much I hate you right now?" "I know," she said quietly, "but I need you to understand. He's not what you think." Her words cut through my rage. "Excuse me?" Anna glanced around, lowered her voice. "He's obsessed with me. Always has been. But it's not love. Not really. It's control. The moment I try to pull away, he finds a way to drag me back. And now that you know, he's free of you. That makes him dangerous." I shook my head, refusing to believe her. "You're just trying to make yourself the victim." But deep down, a seed of doubt took root. Anna leaned closer, her eyes sharp. "Watch him. You'll see." Then she walked away, leaving me trembling in the doorway. That night, Jacob called. His voice was calm, too calm. "I hope you're happy, because I'm not done. Not with you, and not with her." And for the first time, I felt something sharper than betrayal. I felt fear. Fear has a taste, metallic, bitter. It coated my mouth after that phone call, lingering long after I hung up. Jacob's voice haunted me, low, steady, too calm. He didn't sound like the man I'd loved, or even the man who had begged me to stay. He sounded unhinged. I told myself not to overreact, that he was just hurt, lashing out. But then the messages started. At first, they were simple. "You'll regret this. I'll always love you even if you don't love me. Anna belongs to me." Then they grew darker. "I know where you are. I know when you're alone." I blocked his number. He made new ones. I deleted his emails. He sent handwritten letters. The last one came wrapped around a photo of me and Anna as kids, smiling in matching dresses. Across the bottom, he'd scrawled, "Family should stay close." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. The creak of the floorboards, the scrape of a tree branch against the window. I double-checked the locks 3 times. At 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Look outside." My stomach plummeted. I crept to the window and pulled the curtain back just enough to peek. My heart slammed against my ribs. Jacob's car sat across the street. Engine off, lights off. Just parked there in the shadows. Watching. I shut the curtain, backed away, and called the police with shaking hands. By the time they arrived, the car was gone. The officer was polite but dismissive. "There's not much we can do unless he threatens you directly or tries to break in. Keep your doors locked. Document everything." Document everything, as if paperwork could save me. The next day, Anna came over. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looked exhausted, her eyes ringed with dark circles. He was at my place last night too, banging on the door, begging me to talk to him. My neighbor threatened to call the cops and he finally left.
I stared at her, searching for any sign of deceit. But all I saw was fear. Real fear. "He's unraveling," she said, her voice trembling. "I told you." I hated her. I hated what she'd done. But as much as I wanted to shut the door in her face, I couldn't ignore the truth. Jacob wasn't just broken-hearted. He was dangerous. For the first time in years, Anna and I stood on the same side of something, and that terrified me even more. We went to my parents' house that evening. I thought being around family would make me feel safe, but it only made everything worse. My mother fussed over us, oblivious to the storm beneath the surface. My father grumbled about drama and attention-seeking. My brother made jokes, trying to lighten the mood. No one understood how serious this was. That night, after Anna left, I lay awake in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. Every creak of the old house made my body tense. At 3 in the morning, I heard it. A tap against the window. I froze, every muscle locking. Another tap. Louder this time. I forced myself to sit up, heart hammering. Slowly, I crossed the room and pulled back the curtain. And there he was, Jacob, standing in the yard, his face illuminated by the moonlight. His eyes locked on mine. His expression wasn't angry, it wasn't sad. It was calm, almost tender. He lifted his hand and pressed it against the glass, like a lover in a movie. My stomach turned to ice. I staggered back, my breath caught in my throat. He mouthed something I couldn't hear, then vanished into the darkness. The next morning, I told my parents. My father scoffed. "He's harmless, just a fool in love." "Harmless?" I snapped. "He's stalking me. He's stalking Anna. What will it take for you to believe me? For him to break down the door? For him to hurt one of us?" But my father only shook his head. My mother wrung her hands, caught between worry and denial. That's when I realized we were on our own. Anna and I met again that afternoon. We sat in her car, parked at the edge of an empty lot, both of us gripping cups of coffee we didn't drink. "What if he doesn't stop?" she whispered. "He won't," I said, my voice hollow. "Not until he gets what he wants, and he doesn't even know what that is anymore." We sat in silence, the weight of it pressing down on us. Then Anna turned to me, her eyes fierce. "So, we make him stop." I stared at her. "What are you saying?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "If the police won't help us, if our family won't help us, we do it ourselves." A chill ran through me. "Anna!" But she cut me off. "He doesn't get to destroy us. Not anymore." Her hand trembled as she reached for mine, and though every instinct told me to pull away, I didn't. Because for the first time, I realized she might be right. I never imagined I'd be sitting in a car with my cousin, the woman who helped destroy my relationship, plotting how to protect ourselves from the man we both once loved. But there we were, parked in that empty lot, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. Anna's hands gripped the steering wheel like she might snap it in half. "He's not going to stop," she said again, her voice low, steady, certain. "Jacob's the type who doesn't let go. Not until he's destroyed what he can't have." Her words sank deep. They felt too true. "What do you suggest we do?" I asked, my throat dry. Anna finally turned to me. "We give him what he wants, and then we take it away." The way she said it made my stomach clench. "What do you mean?" She leaned closer, her eyes glinting with a mix of fear and determination. "He wants us both. You know it. I know it. That's the root of all this, the obsession, the stalking, the lies. So, we set the stage, make him think he's won. And when he's vulnerable, when he believes he has us wrapped around his finger, we end it."
Her words chilled me. "End it? How?" Anna's silence was louder than any answer. I shook my head, my chest tightening. "You're talking about something dangerous." "He's already dangerous," she shot back. "Every day we wait, it gets worse. Do you want to keep waking up with him at your window? Do you want to keep wondering if tonight's the night he breaks in? Because I can't live like this anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word. For the first time, I saw not the cousin who betrayed me, but a woman cornered, terrified. And maybe she was right. We spent hours circling the idea, neither of us saying the word, but both of us knowing it. We talked about traps, about luring him out, about recording him confessing to things that would lock him away for good. Each option felt flimsy, dangerous, incomplete. By the time I got home, the sky was dark. My parents were asleep. I crept upstairs, every step heavy with dread. In my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the shadows on the wall. I thought about Jacob's face at the window, the way his hand pressed against the glass. Tender, possessive. Wrong. I thought about Anna's trembling voice. "He doesn't get to destroy us." For the first time, I wondered if survival meant becoming someone I wouldn't recognize. The next day, Jacob proved us right. I was driving to the grocery store when I noticed the car in my rearview mirror. Same make, same dent on the fender. He followed me through 3 turns, never too close, never too far. When I parked, he parked 2 rows behind me. I walked into the store, my pulse racing, grabbed the first few items I saw, and headed straight to checkout. When I came out, he was leaning against his car, watching me. "Jacob," I said, my voice shaking. "Leave me alone." He smiled. calm, almost gentle. I can't do that. Then I'll call the police. His smile widened, but his eyes stayed cold. And tell them what? That I love you? That I love her? They won't stop me. You know that. I backed away, clutching my bag of groceries like it might shield me. His voice followed me as I got in the car. You'll come around. Both of you. You have to. We belong together. I drove off shaking, my heart slamming against my ribs. That night, I told Anna everything. Her jaw tightened as she listened, her hands curled into fists. This ends now, she said. We came up with a plan. Simple, reckless, terrifying. We would meet Jacob, together. We would let him believe, just for a moment, that we were his, that all his fantasies were coming true. And then, when he let his guard down, we'd expose him. Catch him on tape. Something undeniable. Something the police couldn't ignore. The thought of facing him again made me nauseous. But the thought of living like this forever was worse. So we set the trap. We agreed on neutral ground, a cabin Anna's friend owned out by the lake. Private enough that Jacob would come, but safe enough that we could control the space. I borrowed recording equipment from a coworker, telling her it was for a project. Anna arranged the meeting, sending Jacob a message that made my stomach twist. We need to talk. Both of us. Come alone. He agreed instantly. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, listening to the wind rattle the windows, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. My phone buzzed once with a message from Jacob. Tomorrow changes everything. When morning came, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely pack my bag. Anna picked me up just after noon. She was pale but resolute, her jaw set. Neither of us spoke much on the drive. The silence between us was thick with unspoken fears. When we arrived, the cabin was still and quiet, the lake shimmering under the gray sky. We set up the recorder, tested it twice, rehearsed what we'd say. And then we waited. Every tick of the clock felt like a hammer on my chest. Finally, the crunch of tires on gravel broke the silence. Jacob's car pulled up slowly, his silhouette behind the wheel. Anna's hand found mine. Her grip was ice cold.
The engine cut off, the door creaked open, and as Jacob stepped out, smiling like a man who believed the world was finally his, I realized we might not leave this cabin the same people who walked in. Jacob's smile was the kind that made my stomach twist. Calm, confident, certain. As if this had all been inevitable. Us waiting for him, us finally giving in to what he believed was fate. Both of you, he said, his voice warm, almost affectionate. Finally. Anna stiffened beside me. I could feel her nails digging into my palm, grounding me, even as I fought the urge to run. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate, his eyes moving between us like we were pieces on a board he'd already won. I knew you'd come around. Anna spoke first. Her voice was tight, brittle. We came because this has to stop, Jacob. It ends today. He tilted his head, amused, as if she were a child pretending to be stern. You say that, but here you are, together. That means something. No, I snapped, my voice trembling but firm. It means we're done letting you control us. For the first time, his smile faltered. A shadow passed over his face, quick and sharp, but then it was gone, replaced by that infuriating calm. You don't mean that, he said, softly, almost pitying. You're scared, that's all. But you'll see, we were always meant to be together, the three of us. I've dreamed about this for years. I felt bile rise in my throat. Anna took a step forward, her chin lifted.
We're not yours, Jacob. We never were. He blinked slowly, his expression unreadable. And then, just like that, his calm cracked. You don't get to say that. Not after everything. Not after all the nights we talked. All the times you came to me. You don't get to rewrite history. Anna flinched, but held her ground. I came because you wouldn't leave me alone, because you threatened me. He laughed bitterly. Threatened you? No, I loved you. I saved you. From your empty life, from people who never understood you, and you. His eyes snapped to me, burning. You think you'd be grateful? I gave you stability, a home. You think you'd build any of this without me? My chest tightened, fury boiling up through my fear. You didn't give me a damn thing. You stole from me. Years of my life, my trust, my family. And for what? So you could chase after a fantasy you never let go of? His jaw clenched. For a moment, silence filled the cabin, heavy and suffocating. Then Jacob took another step closer. You can hate me all you want, but you'll never escape me. I'm in both of you. You'll think about me when you wake up, when you fall asleep, when you try to move on. I'll always be there. Always. Anna's voice was sharp, desperate. No, not after today. That was the cue. I glanced at the hidden recorder, praying it was working, that it was capturing every word. If we could just get him to say enough, the police would have no choice but to act. But Jacob must have sensed something. His eyes narrowed. What's this really about? My heart skipped. What do you mean? He scanned the room, his gaze too sharp, too knowing. His expression darkened as he spotted the faint red light from the recorder tucked on the shelf. Rage twisted his face. You're recording me. Panic surged through me. Jacob! He lunged. Anna screamed as he shoved the table aside, sending the recorder clattering to the floor. His hands were on me in an instant, fingers digging into my arms, shaking me so hard my teeth rattled. You think you can trap me? You think you can ruin me? Anna grabbed at him, pulling, hitting, anything to break his grip. Let her go! Jacob's eyes were wild, his strength terrifying. For a second, I thought this was it, that this was how it ended. Then Anna swung the lamp from the side table. It smashed against his shoulder, sending him stumbling back with a roar of pain. Run! She screamed. We bolted for the door, our feet pounding against the wooden floor. My hands fumbled with the lock, my breath coming in frantic gasps. Behind us, Jacob was already recovering, already moving. The door burst open and we stumbled out into the cold night air. The lake shimmered under the moonlight, the woods looming like dark sentinels. We sprinted towards the car, gravel crunching under our feet. But Jacob was faster. He tackled Anna to the ground, his hands gripping her hair, yanking her head back.
Mine, he bellowed. Both of you are mine. I froze, torn between terror and instinct. My body screamed at me to run, to save myself. But Anna's shrieks cut through the night, raw and desperate. Something snapped inside me. I grabbed the heavy rock from the side of the path and charged. My arms swung before I could think, before I could hesitate. The rock connected with a sickening thud against Jacob's back. He roared, releasing Anna, staggering forward. For a moment, everything went still, his breath ragged. Our eyes locked. And then, slowly, he straightened, blood trickling down his temple. You'll regret that, he said softly, his voice chilling. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The night swallowed us whole after Jacob's words. His voice echoed in my skull, low, deliberate, terrifying. You'll regret that. Anna scrambled to her feet, clutching my arm. Get in the car, she shouted. We ran, hearts pounding, lungs burning, gravel slipping under our shoes. My hands shook so violently that I dropped the keys twice before I managed to jam them into the ignition. The headlights flared to life just as Jacob slammed his palms against the hood, his face twisted with fury. "Go!" Anna screamed. I floored it. The car lurched forward, forcing him to stumble back or be crushed. I didn't look at his face as we sped down the dirt road, the cabin shrinking in the rearview mirror until it disappeared into the trees. Neither of us spoke the entire drive back. The silence was deafening, filled with shallow breaths and the rattling of the old car. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Anna sat rigid in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, her hands gripping her knees so hard I thought she'd draw blood. When we finally pulled into my driveway, the house looked different, smaller, fragile, as if Jacob's shadow stretched over it now. Inside, I collapsed onto the couch, my entire body trembling. Anna paced the living room, her hair wild, her face pale. "He knows," she whispered, over and over. "He knows we were recording him." I buried my face in my hands. We should have never tried this. We didn't have a choice. You saw his face. You heard him. He's not going to stop. Her words cracked something inside me, because she was right. As much as I hated her, as much as I hated Jacob, the truth was clear. This wasn't going away. Hours passed. We tried to sleep, but every noise outside made us jump. At dawn, Anna brewed coffee. Neither of us touched. By noon, there was a knock at the door. My heart stopped. It wasn't Jacob. It was the police. My neighbor had called them after hearing shouting and seeing our car tear into the driveway at midnight. 2 officers stood in the doorway, notebooks ready, their expressions professional but curious. We told them everything: the stalking, the messages, the cabin. We even handed over the broken recorder. But the red light had gone out when Jacob smashed it. There was nothing on the tape. One officer sighed. "We'll file a report, but without hard evidence, there's not much we can do unless he harms you physically. Keep your phones on you. Document everything." That cursed phrase again. Document everything. When the door shut behind them, Anna let out a strangled laugh. "So that's it? We just wait until he kills one of us?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. That night, the silence felt heavier than ever. We locked every window, every door, and sat together on the couch, the TV flickering with some mindless show neither of us watched. My body was so tense, it hurt. And then the phone buzzed. It was a picture. Our cabin. The one we had fled from. Only now, painted across the wooden siding in black spray paint, were the words, "Mine forever." Anna dropped her glass. It shattered against the floor, but neither of us moved to clean it. "He's escalating," she whispered. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. "Then we need to end this." She looked at me, her eyes wide, searching. "Do you mean—" I didn't answer right away. The words lodged in my throat. But eventually, I nodded.
We spent the next 2 days in a haze of planning. It felt surreal, like living inside someone else's nightmare. We mapped out his patterns, the late-night drives, the way he lingered near Anna's apartment, the places he parked outside my house. He was predictable in his obsession. That was the only advantage we had. The idea grew sharper, more dangerous. Not just catching him on tape, not just reporting him. Something final. Something permanent. And yet, in the quiet moments, doubt gnawed at me. Who was I becoming? A victim? A survivor? Or something darker? Anna saw it in my eyes one night as we sat in the kitchen, whispering over mugs of untouched tea. "You're scared," she said, softly. "Of him?" I shook my head. "Of us." Her lips trembled, but she didn't argue. She knew. The third night, Jacob returned. I woke to the sound of footsteps outside my window. Slow, deliberate. I held my breath, my body frozen. Anna slipped into my room, her eyes wide with terror. Together, we crept to the window and peeked through the blinds. There he was, standing in the yard again, staring at us, his face pale in the moonlight, his expression calm, almost serene. In his hand, he held something. A knife. Anna gasped. I clapped a hand over her mouth before she could scream. Jacob raised the knife slowly, pressing the flat of the blade against his chest. And then he smiled. That smile will haunt me forever. Anna's body trembled against mine. "This is it," she whispered. "This ends tonight." I didn't argue, because I knew she was right. That night felt like the longest of my life. Jacob didn't leave. He stood in the yard for hours, unmoving, like a statue carved out of moonlight and malice. The knife glinted every time the wind shifted. Anna and I sat together on the floor, our backs pressed against the wall, watching his silhouette through the blinds. Every time I blinked, I expected him to vanish, or worse, to move closer. By dawn, he was gone. But the relief didn't last, because when we opened the front door, there was something waiting for us. A box. On the top, written in his neat, precise handwriting, "For us." My stomach twisted. Anna's hand shook as she knelt and pulled the lid open. Inside lay photographs, dozens of them. Me, Anna, sometimes alone, sometimes together. Candid shots of us at the grocery store, at work, walking down the street, smiling, unaware. Every picture was dated. Every date matched the days Jacob had business trips. And at the very bottom, there was a photo of the two of us asleep. In my bedroom. Anna dropped it like it burned. "He's been inside." My vision tunneled, the walls seemed to close in around me. My house, my sanctuary, violated. Something inside me hardened. Fear curdled into fury. I said, "This ends tonight." Anna looked at me, her face pale but determined. "Then we stick to the plan." We spent the day preparing, though neither of us said the word for what we were really doing. We sharpened the edges of our fear into something usable, something dangerous. I dug out the bat my father had given me years ago for protection. Anna borrowed pepper spray from a friend. And under it all, the unspoken understanding hung heavy between us. If it came down to it, we wouldn't hold back. By nightfall, Jacob's car appeared down the street, just as we expected. He sat there for nearly an hour, headlights off, waiting, watching. Finally, Anna texted him, "We're ready. Come inside." It felt like poison sliding out of her phone. Seconds later, the car door opened. Jacob stepped out, his movements deliberate, careful. He didn't hurry. He knew we wouldn't run. When he reached the door, Anna opened it. Her face was calm, almost inviting. "Come in." His smile was gentle, tender. He really believed this was it, his victory. He stepped inside, closed the door, and looked at both of us like he'd finally come home.
"I knew you'd see it eventually," he said softly. "That we belong together." I swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. "Then say it, Jacob. Say what you've been telling us. Say it out loud." He tilted his head, suspicious, but too arrogant to resist.
That you're mine? That you'll never escape me? I'll say it 1,000 times. Anna's fingers brushed the hidden recorder in her pocket. This time, we'd get him. But Jacob noticed. His eyes narrowed. "What's in your hand?" Anna froze. He lunged. The recorder hit the floor, skidding under the table. His hands wrapped around Anna's arms, yanking her close. "You think you can trick me again?" His voice was raw, guttural, nothing like the calm he usually wore like a mask. I grabbed the bat, my body trembling. "Let her go!" He turned his head, eyes wild. "Or what?" I swung. The bat connected with his shoulder. He howled, stumbling, dragging Anna with him. She kicked, clawed, fought, but he was too strong. "Stop!" he screamed, spittle flying. "Don't you get it? This is love." "No," Anna spat. "This is obsession." His fist struck her across the face, the sound sickening. Something inside me snapped. I swung again, harder. The bat cracked against his ribs. He staggered back, wheezing, but his grip on Anna didn't loosen. Her hand scrambled for the pepper spray. She jammed it upward, spraying directly into his eyes. Jacob shrieked, releasing her, clawing at his face. This was our chance. I swung the bat once more, striking his temple. He collapsed to the floor, writhing, coughing, blind from the spray. For a moment, silence. Only the sound of his ragged breathing filled the room. Anna and I stood frozen, panting, staring at his crumpled form. "Is he?" she whispered. Jacob groaned, shifting, alive, still dangerous. "We called the police. Now." Anna nodded, fumbling for her phone. She dialed with trembling fingers, telling the dispatcher everything, her voice breaking but steady enough. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Relief flooded through me, but it was fragile, temporary. Jacob lay on the floor, coughing, muttering under his breath, words that chilled me even more than his screams. "You'll never be free of me. Never." Even as the red and blue lights flashed through the windows, even as officers stormed in and pinned him to the ground, I knew he believed it. And worse, I feared he might be right. Because you can remove a man from your house, you can put him in handcuffs, but how do you remove him from your mind? The night Jacob was taken away should have been the end, but endings are never that simple. The police dragged him out, his wrists bound, his face twisted in rage. Neighbors gathered in the street, whispering, staring, phones raised to capture the spectacle. Anna sat on the couch with a swollen cheek, ice pressed against it, her eyes glassy and vacant. I stood in the doorway, watching the flashing lights fade into the distance as the squad car carried him away. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like stepping into a void. Inside, the house was silent, too silent. Every creak made me flinch, every shadow made my heart pound. My hands shook so badly, I could barely lock the door. Anna whispered, "It's over," but her voice cracked, as if even she didn't believe it. Because the truth was, he wasn't gone, not really. Over the next few days, everything unraveled. The police filed their reports, promised restraining orders, promised trials, but all I heard was what they didn't promise: safety, peace, healing. Jacob called from jail, leaving voicemails full of declarations. "I forgive you. We'll be together again. This isn't the end." Each word felt like a stain that wouldn't wash out. At night, I dreamed of him standing at the window again, smiling that serene smile. I'd wake drenched in sweat, certain I'd hear the tap of his fingers against the glass.
Anna stayed with me through it all. Not because I forgave her, because forgiveness was still an ocean way, but because we both knew we were safer together than apart. She cooked when I couldn't bring myself to eat, sat with me when the silence grew too heavy, Sometimes I'd catch her staring out the window for too long, her body tense, as if she expected him to appear any second. Maybe she did. Weeks passed. Jacob's trial loomed ahead, but the waiting was its own kind of torture. Every day felt like holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then, one afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name scrawled across the envelope. I knew before I even opened it. Inside, one page, neat handwriting, his. You think you've won. You think the police, the courts, your family will protect you, but they won't. You'll always be mine. I'm in your blood, in your bones, in her, too. You can't cut me out. You can't erase me. When you look in the mirror, you'll see me. When you close your eyes, you'll hear me. You'll never be free. I dropped the letter, bile rising in my throat. Anna picked it up, her hands trembling, her face pale. She's never going to stop, she whispered. And she was right. Even locked away, his shadow lingered. The day of the trial finally came. The courtroom was cold, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Jacob sat across the room, shackled, his eyes fixed on me the entire time. He didn't glare, he didn't rage, he just watched me. Calm, patient, as if waiting for me to crumble. I told the truth. So did Anna. We recounted every message, every threat, every night spent in fear. The prosecutor laid out the evidence, the photos, the letters, the broken recorder. Jacob's lawyer tried to paint him as a man driven by passion. But passion doesn't leave bruises. Passion doesn't break into your home. When the judge read the sentence, 5 years in prison with mandatory counseling, Anna squeezed my hand. Relief rippled through me, but it wasn't clean, because 5 years wasn't forever, and I knew Jacob would count every day. Afterwards, Anna and I walked out of the courthouse into the pale afternoon light. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked at her, the woman who had shattered my life, and yet the only one who had stood beside me in the end. My throat tightened. "I know," I said quietly. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was the closest I could come. We went our separate ways soon after. She moved across the country, trying to outrun the ghost of him. I stayed, rebuilding piece by piece, though every corner of my house still felt tainted. And yet, life went on. Slowly, painfully. I went back to work. I smiled at coworkers, though the smile felt foreign. I sat in meetings, though my mind drifted. I told myself I was healing, even as I jumped at shadows, even as I checked the locks 3 times every night. But healing isn't clean. It's jagged, uneven. Sometimes, late at night, I catch myself standing by the window, staring out into the dark yard. My breath fogs the glass. My hand lifts, almost against my will, pressing against it like his once did. And in those moments, I realize the truth. He was right about one thing. I'll never be free of him. Not entirely. But survival isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning to live with the scars. And though part of me will always carry his shadow, another part carries something stronger. The memory of the night I finally fought back. That was the night I stopped being his. That was the day I stopped recognizing who I was, and the day I started becoming someone new.